corporate mogul sets a trap to test human nature and is stunned by what an innocent child reveals about true character. The vault door stood ajar, revealing stacks of $100 bills that could buy mansions. Alexander Kane sat motionless in his executive chair, eyes barely open, controlling his breathing as he watched the scene unfold before him. 8-year-old Maya entered the penthouse office, clutching her mother Elena's worn jacket. They had come for the overnight cleaning shift, just as they had every weeknight for the past 18 months at Kane Industries. The little girl wore tiny yellow rubber gloves, a thoughtful gift Elena had purchased to help Maya feel important while accompanying her during summer break. Alexander had orchestrated this moment with military precision. After his business partner had stolen $2 million from their accounts, his faith in human integrity had crumbled. At 52, he commanded a financial empire, yet he questioned whether a single trustworthy soul existed on Earth. The experiment was straightforward. Leave the company's safe wide open with a fortune visible and observe whether anyone could resist temptation. Elena began dusting the mahogany bookshelves with practiced efficiency. Maya, naturally curious as children are, wandered toward the desk where Alexander appeared to be sleeping. Her dark eyes widened at the sight of more cash than she had ever imagined existed. Alexander tensed, bracing himself for another crushing disappointment in humanity. What transpired next left him utterly speechless. Maya didn't reach for the money. Instead, she noticed the bills were scattered haphazardly and began carefully organizing them, sorting by denomination and creating neat piles with the focus of a miniature banker. Her small hands moved with remarkable gentleness, treating each bill as if it were precious china. "Mama," she whispered softly, "Mr. Kane's money was all mixed up. I made it neat like you showed me with our jar of coins at home." Elena spun around, alarmed. "Maya, sweetheart, you mustn't touch the boss's belongings." "But it was messy, Mama. He'll smile when he wakes up and sees everything organized." Alexander felt an unfamiliar tightness in his chest, an emotion he hadn't experienced in decades. This child, who likely had never held more than $5 at once, had systematically arranged a fortune rather than pocketing even a single bill. Moreover, she immediately told her mother about her actions with the pure honesty of someone with nothing to conceal. What Alexander couldn't have predicted was that this simple display of integrity from an 8-year-old would trigger a chain of events that would transform not only his existence, but expose profound truths about prejudice, compassion, and genuine human worth that would forever alter his perspective. In the following weeks, Alexander discreetly observed Elena and Maya. He learned that Elena worked consecutive shifts, cleaning his building at night and scrubbing floors at a medical clinic each morning. Maya constantly accompanied her, completing schoolwork in waiting areas or playing quietly while her mother labored. What struck Alexander most profoundly was Elena's unwavering moral guidance. "We never take what belongs to others, even when nobody's watching," he overheard her teaching Maya. "Our honesty matters more than all the money in the world." Elena had been raised in the foster system after losing her parents at age 11. She had struggled through high school while working multiple jobs, but never afforded college tuition. At 24, she became pregnant with Maya, and the father vanished upon learning the news. Since then, she had supported her daughter independently, refusing assistance she considered charity. Alexander began secretly increasing Elena's wages, instructing payroll to disguise it as a performance bonus. However, his benevolent gesture caught the attention of the wrong individual. Victoria Sterling, senior vice president of operations and a 48-year-old woman accustomed to inherited wealth, discovered the salary adjustment during a budget review. "Alexander, why are we squandering additional funds on custodial staff, particularly that specific employee?" Victoria demanded coldly. "Elena demonstrates exceptional professionalism," Alexander replied curtly. "Exceptional?" Victoria scoffed. "Alexander, you must understand these people's limitations. Offer them extra compensation and they'll soon demand executive privileges. It's simply their nature." Alexander felt rage building but maintained composure. Victoria was the daughter of a founding board member and controlled substantial company shares. Her elitist attitudes had always been tolerated due to her financial leverage. Furthermore, Victoria continued, she brings that child here. It's completely inappropriate. What kind of mother subjects a child to a corporate environment? Obviously, she lacks proper family values. That evening, Alexander witnessed something that ignited his fury. Victoria had remained late and confronted Elena in the corridor. Listen carefully, she said menacingly. I'm aware you're receiving more money than you merit. I don't know what kind of arrangements you've made, but it ends now. Elena paled. Ma'am, I don't understand what you mean. Of course you don't understand. People like you never do. You simply accept what you're given and remain silent, and remove that child from here. This isn't a daycare facility. Maya cowered behind her mother, frightened by Victoria's aggressive tone. Elena protectively embraced her daughter. Ma'am, I'm simply performing my duties. Your duty is to clean and stay invisible, nothing more. Alexander observed everything from his office, experiencing an emotion he hadn't felt in years, righteous indignation. Victoria had crossed an unforgivable boundary. She had not only insulted Elena, but terrorized an innocent child, whose only transgression was accompanying her mother to work. That night, Alexander reached a decision. Passive observation was insufficient. Victoria Sterling had revealed her true character, and he possessed the resources to respond appropriately. What Victoria didn't realize was that Alexander had recorded the entire confrontation. The security system she had personally approved to monitor employees now captured her own venomous words. But Alexander wanted more than mere recordings. He wanted Victoria to destroy herself publicly in such a humiliating manner that she would never recover professionally. The strategy forming in his mind was ambitious, not only protecting Elena and Maya, but using Victoria's arrogance against her. Every additional cruelty she inflicted only strengthened something within Alexander that had remained dormant for years. An appetite for justice that grew stronger with each injustice he witnessed. What the privileged executive couldn't foresee was that every act of contempt was writing her own sentence, and that a determined billionaire protecting an innocent family could become the most formidable opponent someone like her would ever encounter. The next morning, Alexander made a call Victoria could never have anticipated. Detective Rodriguez, I need your expertise again, he said to Maria Rodriguez, a former FBI investigator specializing in corporate misconduct. They had collaborated during the embezzlement investigation, and Maria understood every shadowy aspect of the business world. What kind of trouble this time, Alexander? The kind involving institutional classism and abuse of authority. I need concrete evidence against Victoria Sterling. Maria chuckled. That trust fund princess? That'll be easier than finding flaws in a glass house. People like her always leave evidence. Meanwhile, Victoria escalated her psychological warfare against Elena. On Monday, she appeared at Human Resources with fabricated violations. This employee has been consistently tardy, she lied to Patricia Wong, the HR director, and that child she brings creates disruptions. Patricia, an experienced professional in her 40s, sensed something amiss. Elena had maintained perfect attendance for 18 months. Miss Sterling, I need to verify our records. Records can be manipulated, Victoria interrupted arrogantly. I'm the senior vice president. My assessment should suffice. Alexander monitored everything through security cameras, recording every false statement. The system Victoria had installed to track productivity now documented her own deceptions and authority abuse. On Wednesday, Victoria crossed an even more dangerous line. She cornered Elena in the parking garage when she arrived with Maya for the night shift. Listen carefully, she said, blocking their path to the elevator. I suspect you're providing more than cleaning services to earn that additional income. What exactly are you offering? Elena trembled with anger and fear. Ma'am, what you're suggesting is, I'm suggesting that people like you always have a price, and I'm curious about yours. Maya hid behind her mother, whispering, Mommy, why is that lady being mean? Don't worry, sweetheart, Elena replied with dignity that contrasted sharply with Victoria's venom. Some adults are unhappy and try to make others unhappy too. Victoria laughed cruelly. Unhappy? I have more money in my purse than you'll see in a lifetime. I'm concerned about what people like you might attempt when you become too comfortable. Alexander reviewed the recording that night with controlled fury that intensified with each replay. Maria had arrived with preliminary findings on Victoria that confirmed his suspicions. "Look at this," Maria said, indicating documents. 4 harassment complaints at previous positions, all settled quietly out of court. Identical pattern each time, systematic intimidation until the victim resigned. Why was she never held accountable? Mommy's connections paid for silence and transferred her precious daughter when situations became problematic. Victoria Sterling is a professional predator. Alexander studied every page. Victoria wasn't merely prejudiced, she was a serial abuser who exploited her position and wealth to torment vulnerable individuals. "Maria, I want everything on her. Phone records, emails, social media, behavioral patterns, everything." "Alexander, are you planning something significant?" "I'm planning justice." On Thursday, Patricia Wong approached Alexander discreetly. "Mr. Kane, I need to discuss Victoria Sterling. She's pressuring me to terminate Alina, but I have no legal justification. I suspect personal motivations." Alexander feigned surprise. "What kind of pressure?" "She claims Alina violates policies, but I can't find supporting evidence. Yesterday, she suggested that people of Alina's background shouldn't access administrative areas after hours." "People of Alina's background?" Patricia hesitated. "Sir, I believe there are discriminatory elements in her conduct." This was the opening Alexander needed. "Patricia, if you suspect discrimination, document everything officially. Initiate an internal investigation." "But she's the senior vice president, and I'm the president. Document everything." That night, Alexander implemented phase 2 of his plan. He instructed IT to install additional recording devices in areas where Victoria had been intimidating employees. Officially, it was a security system upgrade. In reality, it was a digital snare. Friday evening, when Victoria believed she was alone, she made a revealing phone call that Alexander heard through the enhanced audio system. "Mother, yes, that situation we discussed. The cleaning woman, she's becoming problematic. I need you to use your contacts to create legal complications for her. Theft suspicions, documentation issues, anything forcing her resignation." Her mother's voice echoed through the speaker. "Victoria, are you certain you're not overreacting? She's merely a custodian." "Mother, it's about principles. If we allow these people to feel too secure, soon they'll demand rights they don't deserve. Better to address this before other employees of similar backgrounds get ideas." Alexander recorded every word, feeling cold satisfaction. Victoria had just confessed to conspiracy and explicit discrimination. Maria arrived at Alexander's office Monday morning with a briefcase of evidence. "Alexander, you won't believe what I discovered. Victoria has private social media posts that are basically supremacist manifestos, conversations in exclusive groups where she and other executives mock working-class employees. There's more. I found she used her mother's influence to sabotage qualified candidates in other companies' hiring processes. There's a 12-year pattern of systematic discriminatory behavior." Alexander examined screenshots of conversations where Victoria wrote things like, "Need to maintain these people in their proper place," and "The only way to handle the working class is demonstrating authority from the beginning." "Maria, this is invaluable. Wait, there's more. She's planning something against Elena this week. I intercepted messages about staging a theft." Alexander felt blood drain from his face. "What do you mean?" "She's going to plant something expensive in Elena's supplies, then discover it publicly. She'll involve police, create a scene, humiliate her before everyone." At that moment, Alexander realized Victoria had completely underestimated her opponent. She thought she was dealing with a distracted boss and a defenseless employee. She had no idea she was walking into a trap that had been years in the making. Alexander looked at Maria with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Perfect. Let her proceed. The further she goes, the harder she'll fall." What Victoria Sterling didn't know was that every malicious move she made was being meticulously documented by someone who had transformed protecting the innocent into an exact science, and who possessed unlimited resources to ensure justice would be delivered in such a devastating manner that it would become legendary in corporate circles. The following Tuesday, Victoria executed her sinister plan with the confident arrogance of someone who had never faced genuine consequences. At 7:30 that evening, When Elena and Maya arrived for their cleaning shift, she had already planted a $12,000 diamond bracelet in the supply cart. "Perfect," Victoria muttered, monitoring from security cameras. "I'll give her 20 minutes to begin work, then catch her red-handed." What Victoria didn't know was that Alexander was upstairs observing her every move on high-definition monitors. Maria Rodriguez was strategically positioned outside with a van full of recording equipment. Two investigative journalists, discreetly contacted by Alexander, waited in the lobby. "Maria, she just planted the bracelet," Alexander reported via radio. "Activate additional recordings." "Confirmed. All backup cameras are operational. We have angles she doesn't know exist." At 7:50, Victoria descended to the office where Elena was quietly working while Maya completed homework at a nearby desk. She brought 2 security guards and pretended to conduct a routine inspection. "Mrs. Elena," Victoria said with false politeness, "I need to examine your cleaning supplies. We've had reports of missing items." Elena stopped working, confused. "Miss Sterling, I don't understand." "Standard procedure," Victoria lied, walking directly to the cart where she had hidden the bracelet. "Oh, how fascinating. What's this?" She removed the diamond bracelet with theatrical drama, as if discovering buried treasure. "Elena Rodriguez, this is a $12,000 bracelet that disappeared from the executive floor yesterday." Elena turned completely pale. "I've never seen that bracelet in my life." "Of course not," Victoria said with poisonous sarcasm. "It simply materialized in your cart, didn't it?" Maya stood up from her chair, frightened. "Mommy, what's happening?" "Silence, child," Victoria ordered harshly. "Your mother needs to explain how expensive jewelry magically appears in her equipment." One security guard had already lifted his phone to call police, exactly as Victoria had instructed. "Police, we need to report theft in progress." It was at that moment that Alexander appeared in the doorway with Maria and 2 people Victoria didn't immediately recognize. "Victoria," Alexander said with a calmness that made Victoria's blood freeze. "I think you should end that call." "Alexander, thank goodness you're here. We caught your employee stealing your bracelet." Alexander laughed, a cold sound that echoed through the silent office. "My bracelet, Victoria? I haven't owned jewelry in a decade. I've been wearing the same watch for 15 years. The confidence on Victoria's face began to crumble. What are you saying?" "I'm saying we just recorded you planting a bracelet you purchased this morning in Elena's cart to frame her." Maria approached with a tablet displaying high-definition footage of Victoria placing the bracelet in the cart 50 minutes earlier. "Angle 1, she said, swiping to the next video. "Angle 2. Angle 3. We even have your face clearly visible when you checked that no one was watching." Victoria attempted to speak, but Alexander interrupted. "Oh, but there's so much more, Victoria. Maria, show her our portfolio." Maria opened a digital file and began projecting contents onto a portable screen. First came screenshots of Victoria's elitist posts in private groups. "Need to maintain these people in their proper place," Maria read aloud. "That's yours, isn't it, Victoria?" Elena gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Victoria tried approaching the screen, but Alexander blocked her. "Here's your conversation planning to create legal difficulties for Elena," Maria continued. "And here's your confession that it's about preventing working-class people from feeling secure." "Where did you obtain this?" Victoria stammered, sweat beginning to form on her forehead. "Security system you personally approved, remember? Including that call to your conspiracy planning mother about fabricating evidence against an innocent employee." One journalist identified herself. "Sarah Chen, Channel 9 News." "Miss Sterling, would you like to comment on this evidence of systematic class discrimination and conspiracy to fabricate criminal evidence?" Victoria finally understood the magnitude of what was occurring. "You can't use that. I have rights." "Absolutely you do," Alexander said calmly. "You have the right to remain silent because anything you say will be used against you, not just by police who are already en route to arrest you for conspiracy and attempted defamation, but also by media, the company board, and Elena's attorneys." Maria continued the presentation. "We also have records of your 12 years of systematic discrimination at previous positions. 4 harassment lawsuits silenced by Mommy, 11 working-class employees you tormented until they resigned. And best of all," Alexander interrupted, We have recordings of you on cameras you didn't even know existed, including your threats to Elena in the parking garage and your disgusting insinuations." The second reporter stepped forward with a camera. "Miss Sterling, how do you respond to accusations that you used your position to systematically persecute working-class employees?" Victoria attempted to flee, but Maria blocked the exit. "Oh, I nearly forgot," Maria said with a smile. "Your assets were frozen an hour ago. Your family has been notified of the evidence contents, and the company board has called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning to discuss your termination for cause and possible legal action." Elena, who had remained shocked throughout the revelation, finally found her voice. "Mr. Kane, did you know this would happen?" "Elena, I knew Victoria was prejudiced, but I didn't imagine she would attempt to destroy you with fabricated evidence. When I discovered her plan, I decided passive observation was insufficient." Maya approached Alexander timidly. "Mr. Kane, will the mean lady stop scaring Mommy now?" Alexander knelt to the girl's height. "Yes, sweetheart. She'll never bother you again." Victoria, desperate, made one final pathetic attempt. "Alexander, we can resolve this between professionals. My family has significant investments in the company." "Had," Alexander corrected, "until 30 minutes ago when the board voted unanimously to force purchase of all Sterling family shares. Congratulations. You've managed to destroy not only your own career but also your family's fortune." Police arrived at that moment, but Elena wasn't the one arrested. "Victoria Sterling," Detective Martinez announced, "you're under arrest for conspiracy to fabricate evidence, harassment, discrimination, and attempted defamation." As they handcuffed Victoria, she looked at Elena with hatred that finally revealed her true nature. "This won't stand. My family has influence." "Had." Maria corrected again, "until this morning when evidence was released to all major media outlets. Your mother called 3 hours ago requesting removal from the company's contact list." The third reporter approached Elena. "Miss Rodriguez, how does it feel knowing you've been completely vindicated and your persecutor will face full consequences?" Elena looked at Maya, then at Alexander. "I feel grateful that people exist who will fight for justice even when it would be easier to ignore it." Alexander watched Victoria being led away in handcuffs, knowing she faced not only imprisonment but complete social and financial ruin. Her reputation was destroyed forever. Her family had disowned her, and her career had ended so humiliatingly that it would become legendary in business circles. "Elena," Alexander said, "would you like to discuss a promotion?" As Elena smiled through tears and Maya applauded without fully understanding what had occurred, it was clear that justice had been served in such a devastating way that it would be remembered for generations, proving that underestimating human decency can be the most costly mistake anyone can make. 6 months later, Elena Rodriguez walked through Mitchell Enterprises halls, no longer as a custodian, but as Director of Employee Relations, a position Alexander had created specifically for her after discovering her business degree that circumstances had never allowed her to utilize. Her first initiative was implementing a scholarship program for employees' children, with Maya as the inaugural recipient. "Mommy, can I show Mr. Kane my new painting?" asked Maya, now 9, running through the office that had become her second home. She attended the city's finest private academy and already spoke eloquently about wanting to become a lawyer. "To help people like Mr. Kane helped us." Alexander smiled, observing the complete transformation of their lives. His company had received awards for inclusion and social mobility, becoming a national model for promoting working-class individuals to executive positions. The Second Chance initiative, created in honor of Elena's case, had already benefited over 300 families. Meanwhile, Victoria Sterling was experiencing a completely different reality. After serving 22 months in prison for discrimination and conspiracy, she was released to discover her reputation completely destroyed. No respectable company would employ her. Her husband had filed for divorce, claiming half their remaining assets. Her children had changed their surname and refused contact. The woman who was once senior vice president of a major corporation now worked as a retail clerk, earning less annually than Elena made in 2 months. Her discriminatory posts continued circulating online, preventing any attempt at image rehabilitation. "Dad, Alexander," Maya said during dinner at the new home Alexander had purchased for them. "My teacher asked us to write about our heroes. Can I write about you?" Alexander felt tears forming. "Maya, the real hero of this story is your mother, who taught you that honesty is worth more than any amount of money." Elena took Alexander's hand. "No, the hero is someone who had courage to fight when it would have been easier to ignore injustice." The following week, Alexander received an unexpected call. "Mr. Kane, this is CNN reporter David Kim. I'd like to feature how your company became an inclusion model after the Sterling case." The story aired during prime time, showing Maya playing in the office where everything began, Elena working in her new role, and Alexander explaining how an 8-year-old had changed his perspective on justice and humanity. Victoria watched the report from her studio apartment, drinking alone as she saw her former life thriving without her. She tried calling former colleagues, but they had blocked her number. She attempted creating new social media profiles, but her discriminatory posts kept resurfacing, haunting her like digital ghosts. 3 years later, on Maya's 12th birthday, Alexander made a special announcement during the celebration. "Maya Rodriguez, you have changed my life in ways I can never fully repay. Therefore, I have established the Maya Rodriguez Educational Foundation, which will provide college scholarships to talented young people from working families for the next 50 years." Maya ran to embrace him. "Thank you for believing in us when no one else did." That same day, Victoria was rejected for a cashier position after the manager Googled her name and found the famous article about workplace discrimination. Her fall had been so complete and public that it became a case study in business schools about how prejudice and arrogance can destroy entire careers. Alexander realized that true justice was never about destroying Victoria. It was about building something greater than she could ever imagine. He had transformed an ordinary company into a symbol of social justice, created opportunities for hundreds of people, and proved that integrity leads to genuine prosperity. "The honesty of an 8-year-old taught me that the best response to hatred is love and action," Alexander said during a speech at Stanford University. "Victoria tried to bring us down, but she ended up lifting us to heights we never dreamed possible." Today, Maya is attending preparatory school bound for Stanford. Elena has an MBA and is nationally recognized for her innovations in employee relations. And Alexander has been honored by the government for his contributions to economic equality in the corporate environment. Victoria still lives alone, working temporary jobs, remembered only as an example of what happens when someone underestimates the power of human decency, combined with the determination to do what is right. True justice was not Victoria's imprisonment or financial ruin. It was proving that kindness, when protected by strength, builds legacies that inspire generations. If this story of transformation touched your heart, remember that doing good is always worth it, even when it seems impossible.